Today on our gardening series, we go to the tropical north of Australia. In Darwin, gardens are much different from the rest of Australia. There's lots of rain for 3 months, then none for the rest of the year, and it's always hot. So gardens need to be cool, relaxing places to be. Let's visit a very beautiful and interesting suburban garden.
Suburban gardens are the greatest challenge of all, because not only do they need to look good, but they have to be very functional. They need to be a cricket pitch one day, a basketball court the next, a place where you have barbecues and parties, a place where you can sit and relax after work. And then of course you'll want to grow some food, so you'll need a veggie garden, a herb garden, and perhaps a lime tree. In this garden in the northern suburbs meets all that criteria, and it's an interesting and dynamic place for kids. How have they done it? By breaking the garden up into small areas or spaces, each with its own purpose, so that in this garden you have lots of gardens. The lovely little veggie garden is filled with herbs and tucker plants. The compost area is small but produces more than enough compost for the veggies and a small nursery. And there's this lovely little worm farm quietly converting kitchen scraps into vermicompost for the veggies and vermi tea to keep those orchids flowering like mad. In our tropical environment, we need lots of shade to keep the house cool and stop the kids from getting sunburn. All the different areas in this garden are connected by paths. The pool is nestled in amongst rocks and plants and looks very natural. When you have 8 months of the year without rain, you get a bit desperate for the sight of water. So every tropical garden needs a pond, a place where you can sit and contemplate the world, and an oasis for all the lizards, frogs and birds that live in your garden. This is a very child-proof garden, a place where they can really get in and enjoy it. There's a music stand made from old bits and pieces. Cubbies are hot places in the wet season, but this platform works wonderfully. It can be anything from a pirate ship, a stage, or just a hang where all the kids come after school. With all the shade in this garden, the accent is on foliage and texture rather than flowers. The flowers that are here are like jewels, something to be celebrated amongst the foliage. The owners reckon the answer is careful planning. Not the sort you do on paper at the start, but the ongoing plans that happen as your life changes. The ones you make up as you're weeding or sitting in your favourite chair.
So that looks like a great garden. The garden is in Darwin, in the Northern Territory. It's hot and tropical there, so plants grow very well. It's a suburban garden. Suburban means in the suburbs. The suburbs are the areas around a city where people live. So it's a garden in the suburbs of Darwin, set among lots of other houses and gardens. It's a great garden with lots of different parts to it. Let's hear about why suburban gardens are hard to design.
Suburban gardens are the greatest challenge of all, because not only do they need to look good, but they have to be very functional.
Suburban gardens are the greatest challenge of all. A challenge is a difficult job, something that needs a lot of skill and effort to do. Suburban gardens are the most difficult type of garden because they need to look good and they need to be very functional. Functional here means useful. They need to be designed to be used for many different things. Suburban gardens get used a lot for lots of different purposes. Let's listen to some uses.
The lovely little veggie garden is filled with herbs and tucker plants.
The veggie garden is full of herbs and tucker plants. A veggie garden is a place where vegetables are grown. Veggies is a common shortening of vegetables. Australians love to shorten words and add an E sound to the end. You can eat all sorts of veggies, like mushies, mushrooms, or nanis, bananas. You could cook them up on a barbie, that's a barbecue, and afterwards you might eat some chocolate, or a bicky, that's a biscuit. Okay, so this garden has a veggie garden. What else does it have?
And there's this lovely little worm farm quietly converting kitchen scraps into vermicompost for the veggies and vermi tea to keep those orchids flowering like mad.
It has a worm farm. A worm farm is a place where worms are kept. The worms are converting or changing kitchen scraps into vermicompost and vermi tea. Vermi is a prefix meaning worm. So vermicompost is worm compost. the waste from the worms after they've eaten the kitchen scraps. Vermicompost is full of great things for the soil and for veggies. And vermi tea? Well, that's worm tea. Sounds horrible, but apparently it's very good for orchids, special flowers that need a lot of care. Okay, let's leave the worm farm. What other things does the garden have?
Every tropical garden needs a pond, a place where you can sit and contemplate the world, and an oasis for all the lizards, frogs and birds that live in your garden. The pool is nestled in amongst rocks and plants and looks very natural.
The garden has a pond and a pool. A pond is a small pool. In gardens, a pond is usually used for keeping fish or frogs, not for swimming. The pool is used for swimming. She says it's nestled in or lying closely amongst rocks and plants. So you can see the garden really is functional. It can be used by lots of different people for many different things. There's even a place for children to play.
There's a music stand made from old bits and pieces. Cubbies are hot places in the wet season, but this platform works wonderfully. It can be anything from a pirate ship, a stage, or just a hang where all the kids come after school.
So you can grow your food, make your own compost, swim in the pool, relax by the pond, play some music or hang around on the platform. You'll never get bored in that garden. And that's all for today. You'll never get bored on our English Bites website either. You can watch all our stories, do quizzes and learn all sorts of new things. English Bites is brought to you by Australia Network. There are many other English language learning resources available at our website.